please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
A very good morning. Welcome to Chartbusters. Well, we're going to highlight all the buzzing stocks of the day. As we speak, the Nifty is trading mildly in the green. The Nifty, though, has come off the high point of the day. Hey, Mangalam, we have some of those Asian markets that are giving us a mixed picture. You have the Shanghai market that's under some pressure. The Nikkei is holding with a gain of around 200 points. It's playing some catch-up with yesterday. So, Asia as well is in a bit of a tizzy. And our own markets, we were holding with a gain of around 30 points just a short while back. Lupin has come in for selling pressure. You have Infosys as well. That's seen some selling. And you told us in the morning, be careful. HUL is trading at lifetime highs. So the margin for disappointment is very, very small. So in today's trading session, the stock is down nearly around 3% as we speak. Pull up the 3% as we speak. Pull up the other two, Infosys as well as Lupin. Both of them have moved lower. And Mangalam, the mood is really soured by when you see stocks like these PC jewelers of the world. The way that stock has moved. Yesterday it was down 25%. Today, some traders, I guess, are playing for a bit of a bounce, and suddenly that stock again moving to the low point of the day. I mean, we're talking about a company that loses its market capitalization of more than 30% in 2 days. Wow.
What can one say, I mean, a lot of people say there's value in diamonds and gold, but in PC jeweler perhaps seems like, you lose about 30% of your market cap.
At least one thing is clear, if you're looking to give a rock to someone, don't go to PC. In case you're thinking about it.
No, not really thinking about that right now, Nigel. But on that note itself, actually, we should take a look at the advanced decline chart, because over the weekend, yesterday they were far apart after the weekend, but now as we speak, both the red and the green lines, they are interlocked as we speak in an embrace, perhaps. Both those lines should come up for you. 920, there you have it. They're pretty close to each other right now. And this is when the mid-cap index is outperforming. You can't call it really an outperformance given the sort of stocks that are moving higher right now. We have Jaiprakash Associate, for instance, which is up by about 3%. We have Reliance Communications too, moving higher by about 3%. But all the index stocks, like you said, are at the low point of the day.
Yeah, that's what, Mangalam, and some of these stocks, the Nifty is on the verge of moving to the red, by the way. We have Bajaj Finserv. We should get that stock up for you. That's moved lower. Bajaj Finance as well. Remember, these stocks are trading at very high multiples, but where else do you put your money? Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Finserv, they were trading at record highs. Both of them have seen some selling pressure, and I think ITC as well has done a bit of a U-turn. And now we're holding with a gain of only around 5 points. I think we should run through the headlines and then we look at the trade on the Nifty.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at all the top stories that we're tracking this morning. Oil marketing companies and aviation stocks. Those are the only stocks we're seeing a surge on. That's because oil prices, they are lower overnight. Statement coming in from Treasury Secretary of the US, Steve Mnuchin, weighing in on prices. Concerns about supply disruptions also ease as Libyan ports reopen.
Well, we told you first, and now it's confirmed. The government increases axle load for trucks and trailers by 16 to 37%. All India Transporters Welfare Association expects freight rates to fall post this notification, while SIAM welcomes the move, says it will improve the efficiency of road transport.
FMCG giant Hindustan Unilever delivers on most counts with its first quarter performance. Volume growth meets expectations. However, owing to valuations, brokerages downgrade the stock, citing valuation concerns.
And in earnings to watch out for today, a CNBC TV 18 poll expects the ad revenue growth of around 19 to 20% on a year-on-year basis for Zee Entertainment. For Ashok Leyland, a low base of last year is expected to drive earnings growth. The street will also watch out for earnings coming in from Federal Bank and ICICI Lombard. Even this pullback is being sold into, we're talking about Bajaj Finance, Bajaj Finserv, Bharati Airtel. Pull up the intraday chart of that stock. That one, in fact, has suddenly taken a bit of a knock, so keep an eye out on that one. And a couple of other stocks as well are seeing selling. Dish TV, pull up the intraday chart over there, as well as Balrampur Chini. Not looking too good. Sensex moves into the red as well. And after yesterday's bashing, it seems, that there is some offloading yet being seen on the screen as we speak. That's despite the fact that we saw a sharp decline in Brent crude prices. But how do you trade the Nifty from here? Ashwini Gujral joins us. Ashwini, good morning. What's the trade on the Nifty? We are holding as flat as can be, but now 30 points from the top.
See, the Nifty is getting into trouble because of Hindustan Unilever. and we went long in the morning, then we went short. Both those trades have worked out. So at the moment, what I can see is that the bank nifty is outperforming. So my sense would be closer to yesterday's lows. You should cover your short positions that if you took on my advice. And I am now accumulating bank nifty because my sense is that even if we don't go into greatly into positive, today will be a sideways day. So given that we have positive factors in our favor, it would not help to get trapped around these levels in shorts. At least on the banks, I think there could be more short covering because yesterday there was a bit of double whammy. Large private sector banks fell, then inflation, etc. That inflation trade is probably now out of the picture. So close by stop, keep a day's low as a stop and buy into the bank nifty here. You'll be able to get a nice intraday swing on the upside because I don't expect a day like yesterday to pan out today. Having said that, individual stocks, Arvind is a buy with a stop of 398, target of 420. ICICI Bank is a buy with a stop of 260, target of 274. And Bank of Baroda is a buy with a stop of 112, target of 124.
Well, Ashwini, you spoke about HUL causing a bit of trouble for the markets as we speak. But in the FMCG pack itself, there has been a bit of a divergence in terms of moves. HUL is at the low point of the day. Colgate is at the low point of the day. But you have something like a Dabur, which is moving higher. And you also have Nestle, which is moving higher. So in that case, if someone was to perhaps reshuffle their portfolio in HUL or in the FMCG pack itself, chartically, which are the ones do you think which look stronger?
Hindustan Unilever is not looking weak. It's going through a correction because everybody went long up to their nose into results. FMCG is looking strong. So try to buy the declines on things which are going down. But overall the sector is positive. Hence, half of it is going up and the other half going down. So these will still remain your stocks which will make fresh highs. Just for the day, because banks have shorts and there's a reason to go up, I think Bank Nifty will provide support, whereas maybe IT and FMCG will probably pull the market down. So just focus on the banks and buy this decline.
All right, focus on the banks and buy the decline in FMCG for the longer term. With that, we'll move on to the latest coming in from the LIC IDBI Bank stake sale. The LIC board, remember, yesterday approved acquiring a majority stake in IDBI Bank, and today it's the IDBI Bank board that will meet to approve the 51% acquisition by LIC. Ritu Singh is here with what's lined up on the agenda. Ritu?
The board of IDBI Bank will be meeting at 3 p.m. today to approve the acquisition of 51% stake in the bank by Life Insurance Corporation. Remember, LIC is already a shareholder of the bank and owns about 7.98% stake, and it will acquire an additional 43% to take its shareholding to close to 51% stake in the bank, becoming the majority shareholder. Government's shareholding, which is currently at about 85%, will come down to below 50% post the closure of this deal. So also on the agenda is the approval of nominee directors. Remember, the DEA secretary yesterday said that about 4 nominee directors from LIC will be appointed to the IDBI Bank board. That is also something that should be finalized in today's meeting. The other thing would be the turnaround plan itself for IDBI Bank, which has a gross bad loan of almost 30%, one of the highest NPAs in the industry. So all of these will be on the agenda. It is important to get the bank board's nod, but even after that, there will be regulatory approvals required from both SEBI and RBI that will be pending to close, what is one of the largest banking deals in recent times.
Okay, all right, Ritu, thanks so much for that. Well, keeping an eye out on the advanced decline ratio, they were about to kiss each other, and now in the last few minutes, they've in fact gone ahead and kissed each other. So there are more number of stocks now that are declining in comparison to the number of stocks that are advancing. So just keep that on your radar as well. At some point of time, yeah, it's come up for you on the screen. For the Nifty, a couple of stocks are trying to fight in there for the Nifty. You have Adani Ports that's moving higher. HDFC, that's the heavyweight. That in fact was down close to around 1.2%. Now that's recovered a tad bit from the low point of the day. So you pull up HDFC and you'll see that that's trying to do some firefighting because Hindustan Unilever, that's the stock. That's the biggest drag on the index today. It's down closer to around 3% odd. Mangalam, how do you read those numbers? You warned us this morning. The numbers are more or less in line. But valuation-wise, when a stock is trading at around 50 times, it always makes it difficult, particularly when you buy the stock ahead of the numbers, so some profit booking.
Absolutely, there is some profit booking out there, and tell you what, the numbers were fair, no problem, and the valuations weren't lovely. They were trading at what, 52 times FY20 earnings itself. So just take a look at the numbers, no complaints out there. Volume growth at 12%, that compares with our expectations of 12%. Revenue too closer to the expected range of 95 to 9600 crore rupees. The EBITDA came in higher, and we had the net profit, which was pretty much in line with expectations. Now the good part about numbers, the gross margins, they expanded to 54%. The ad spends came in higher by 27%, and the company still managed to grow their EBITDA margins from 21.7% to close to 23.7%. So there's a 200 basis points improvement in EBITDA margins as well. And there was an element of exceptional in the net profits. So if you account for that, the net profit actually came in higher by about 20-30 crores as against our expectations. Now the concerns. The margins have expanded, whether they will sustain or not, because the management was cautious as far as the crude oil prices are concerned. Secondly, the volume growth, 12% going forward, the base becomes heavy. So is there a risk for this volume growth to taper off? Thirdly, the management said they are expecting competitive intensity to improve or increase. If competitive intensity increases, does HUL manage to hold on to its prices and market share, or perhaps the prices go down for the market share? So that is something we'll have to watch out for. Valuations, of course, we said they are not cheap. So on the point of just valuations, the brokerages, all of them have downgraded the stock. We have the likes of Jefferies, Prabhudas Leeladhar, Axis Cap, even Phillip Capital and Kotak. They have downgraded the stock. The important part now, as competition increases, just keep an eye out on the sector valuation as a whole. HUL available at what, 52 times, Godrej Consumer 42 times, Imami, Dabur, as well as ITC, all of them trading anywhere between 27 to 38 times. So as that old ad goes, जब वही सफेदी वही जाग कम दामों में मिले तो कोई ये क्यों ले वो ना ले.
अरे वाह Mangalam, superb. I mean, excellent. You know what a mood you are in nowadays.
It's FMCG.
Tracking the FMCG sector, you know the taglines as well. A real family man in the making. But Mangalam told us about the largest loser on the Nifty. Let's hop across to Sonal. She wants to tell us more. Sonal, what are the stocks you're looking at?
Well, a lot of stocks on my radar today, Nigel. The big story definitely is the crude price fall, which fell by around $3.50 per barrel, and that is very positive news for the OMCs like HPCL, BPCL, also some of the airline stocks like Jet Airways and SpiceJet that are buzzing in trade today. Other stock that is in focus is Syntex Plastics. Weak set of numbers coming in from the company this time around. The revenues, they slipped down by 12%, majorly led by the PFAB segment. Also, the margins were lower, and EBITDA also fell by around 30%. Due to the lower EBIT both in custom molding and the prefab segment, all this leading to a profit decline of around 47%. Some pressure is seen on that stock today. Adani Ports is in focus because Adani Logistics and NYK Auto Logistics, they have announced formation of a JV for some rail logistics venture. So that stock is in focus today. And Ajanta Pharma, the stock had been under pressure because of the news that drug controller has taken action against the company. Now we are seeing some recovery in the stock because the company told the exchanges that it is not Ajanta Pharma against whom the action has been taken. The action is taken against SafeTab Life Sciences, who is the manufacturer of the drug, and Ajanta Pharma is just the marketer of the drug. And the company says they are absolutely compliant with all the US FDA regulation. That's why the stock saw some recovery. Back to you.
HUL is losing from the FMCG pack. A couple of stocks they're doing well or trying to hold up. We have the likes of Asian Paints at the high point of the day. Of course, the benefit of lower crude helping them. Asian Paints is up about 1%. And we have Nestle. That one's moved to the high point of the day with a gain of about 2% as well. So we will watch out for all these stocks and the valuations out there as well. But the sector on our radar right now is the truck sector. See, after confirming the CNBC TV 18 news break, the government has now notified the maximum safe axle rate norms for heavy commercial vehicles. Sonia joins us with all the details. Sonia.
Well, thanks for that. You know, just to explain this in simple terms, what the government has said now is that you can increase your load for the truck that you currently have. So, for example, trucks and trailers can now carry an extra load of 16 to 37%. For trucks, the gross vehicle weight is capped at 49 tons, and for tractor trailers, it's capped at 55 tons. So, if you have, suppose, a 25-ton truck, now you can take it at about 28.5 tons. But will this really make an impact? It may not, because there's a lot of overload overloading happening in any case. So even in a 25-ton truck, people are carrying about 40 tons of, produce. And now, only if the overloading ban is strictly implemented, then this notification comes into play and can impact the demand. We spoke to a whole host of analysts, etc. They say the overloading is prevalent across many states. It's very hard to gauge whether it gets implemented or not. There is a lot of corruption which leads to, overloading taking place. In fact, more than 70% of the fleet is currently overloaded at the moment. Given all of that, there won't be any change as far as demand is concerned. However, the utilization of fleet will improve about 20 to 25%, and no analysts on the street have downgraded their truck growth based on this notification. So, for example, Elara Capital continues to have a truck industry growth of 8% in FY19. We did speak to the Indian Transport Association as well. They said that all the vehicles on the road will be allowed to carry excess load, but someone from the government needs to give more clarity on whether this is on what the rationale is behind this decision, and whether this is for existing fleet or for new trucks.
Okay, all right, Sonia, thanks so much for that. In fact, we spoke to the MD and CEO of Ashok Leyland. Let's hear out what he had to tell us.
It is rather confusing at this point, because somebody who has bought a vehicle, let's say for 25 ton, that vehicle has been designed for GVW of 25 tons. The braking has been designed for 25 tons. If the argument that the government has that they are overloading that much anyway today, well, if they are overloading that much anyway today, then there should be no impact on vehicle volumes, because tomorrow they will say, okay, now you carry 28 tons, and that would be all that you're allowed to carry, and it will be very strictly imposed. I find it a bit surprising on two reasons. One, somebody who's bought a vehicle today, and somebody is going to buy a vehicle, let's say, after Tuesday, what does somebody who bought a vehicle do? I mean, he has a vehicle for 25 tons. He cannot suddenly get it registered for 28 tons, because the brakes and everything have been designed for 25 tons. Even in US, one-axle truck or two-axle trucks have got the difference between India and US is 16 to 18 tons. Here we are going to 19 tons, which is the world's highest. Similarly, on three-axle trucks, we are going from 25 to 28. Once again, US is only at 26, which is the highest in the world. So we are going much higher than the world. And I am not sure our roads can take something like that. First, I think this will cause confusion, unnecessary confusion. I think people will say, shall I wait? Shall I do something? But I think in a week or so, it will all settle down and people will say, wait a minute, I was anyway doing it. Now I will be legally doing it. So let me continue to buy more vehicles. There's no tire capacity in India to do something like this. So that's another thing that we are all puzzled by as to what is the requirement, what is the urgency for this. I'm not so sure I understand.
All right, so that is the word coming in from the MD of Ashok Leyland. Meanwhile, Nigel, there were brokerage reports which were saying that this is positive for all the logistics players in the long term, because their trucks can carry more load. But we need to know a lot of the details. The first one, this has to be officially passed. Right now, it's just notified. Secondly, how much will these companies have to spend in order to get those new trucks? And thirdly, will the companies pass on these benefits to the consumers, because it is a very competitive industry? So we'll have to watch out for that. We'll take some time. And as Mr. Dasari said, it is all very confusing right now. In fact, let's listen into the reactions coming in from Mr. Pradeep Singhal, the National President of All India Transporters Welfare Association, and Mr. Vishnu Mathur, who's the Director General of SIAM as well.
We are trying to reach out to the government, because some newspaper have said that it will apply only to the new vehicles, but what I don't think that is kind of practical. There are two issues to this whole notification. One is that there is a more utilization of the same asset. So because of that, what will happen is that you have more supply than the demand. You're getting more supply, and because of that, the freight rate will come down.
I think overall I would say it is a positive move, because in Europe and other countries more load is permitted in the vehicles, and I think the reason why we were not permitting so much load was because the road infrastructure in India was not up to the mark. This move has been done in consultation with the Indian Road Congress, and they have accepted that we can increase the load per axle load for various kinds of vehicles. So I think overall it's basically designed, this move is designed to improve the efficiency of the road transport, and with our increasing road infrastructure, I think that is quite natural.
All right, let's shift focus then to the earnings that are expected today. Ashok Leyland comes out with its set of numbers. Sonia, what do we expect there?
Well, the base is really low. Same time last year, the industry was hit by the BS4 transition as well as GST. So on account of that, the revenue growth will be about 50% plus. EBITDA growth will double, profit growth will triple. But these are not the numbers to sort of get to know the real trend. The real trend is that raw material cost pressures have kicked in, discounts have been high, and that has actually impacted the margins quarter-on-quarter. So this time we're expecting about 9.6% margins. Last 2 quarters, they've done in excess of 11%, which means that the cost structure has definitely deteriorated for them. If you look at what the, the realization trend has been, this quarter, the realizations are expected at 14.84 lakh rupees a unit, compares to 14.93 lakhs last quarter and 15.26 lakh in the quarter before. So definitely they're getting hit as far as realizations are concerned. And that's something that the street has factored into the stock price as well. The stock is down 20% from its all-time highs of 167 rupees, and that's because of these issues. However, on the volume front, as I said, good volume growth, 48% for the total volumes. MHCV volumes are up 54%, LCV volumes are up by about 33%. But if they report margins which are below the 9% level, then that's something the street will definitely not like.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for that. Let's move on to another company which will be reporting its numbers, Zee Entertainment. First quarter numbers. Sonal is here with the key expectations. Sonal, HUL reported a 27% rise in their ad expenses. Is that going to Zee? What is the ad spend number that you're looking at?
Well, that is exactly what we'll see in the ad revenues of Zee Entertainment as well. An ad revenue growth of around 19 to 20% is what we're expecting. In terms of subscription revenue growth, and 11 to 12% subscription revenue growth is what we're expecting this time around. And revenues overall, we're expecting a 15% increase at around 1780 crore rupees. EBITDA also is expected to go higher by around 30%, and margins, they will see a growth of around 350 basis points, all this leading to a profit growth of around 30-odd%. Now, why are the ad revenues going to increase? That is one reason is because the market share of the company has increased both sequentially as well as on a YOY basis. In terms of ad revenue, international ad revenue, that is expected to grow at around 14 to 15%, and overall subscription revenue growth is expected at 11 to 12%, out of which domestic subscription revenue growth is expected at around 13 to 15%, and the international subscription revenue growth, that is expected to see some decline because they have been seeing some demand issues in Dubai region. In terms of content costs, that we're expecting that they will be rising this quarter because they have launched an OTT app that is called Z5. Could pressure margin somehow, but still, and margin expansion is that what we're expecting. In terms of guidance, management told us that they are expecting to see ad revenue growth in double digits, also margins at 30% plus levels. So today as well, we'll be watching out for company's guidance. Back to you.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much for that, Sonal. So we know how HUL did. We know what to expect from Ashok Leyland, Zee. And now, from Sonal, we go across to Abhishek. He's going to tell us what do we expect from Federal Bank. Abhishek.
Well, Nigel, all eyes will be on the slippages. Slippages are expected to remain elevated as the bank will be in the last leg of recognition of corporate NPAs. The net interest margin above 3.1% will be positive. Last quarter, it was at 3.11%. Loan growth has been very strong for Federal Bank. So anything upward of 25% will be positive. Last quarter, it was at 25.5%. Now, the management has been guiding for higher recovery and upgrades. So if that comes in, the improvement in gross NPA ratio will be positive. Last quarter, the gross NPA ratio was at 3%. Our polls suggest an NII growth of 21.5%, but net profit growth of just 5%. Coming on to the valuations are at multi-year low, while the stock is trading near its 52-week low. Back to you.